Welcome to the City of Knoxville Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm Amy Sherrill, Chair of the BZA, and I'll be conducting today's meeting. Alongside me are the other members of the BZA, and at the tables here to the side of the room are the city staff members. Today's meeting will be conducted in the order of the agenda. Agendas are available at the table near the front entrance. This is a 5-person board, but as you can tell, sometimes not all of us are here. This is new script. So in order to, do I just skip this because it's not, we're all here? Okay, great. Yep. Excellent. Moving on. Pursuant to BZA's administrative rules, each matter on the agenda will be considered in the following order: staff comments, proponents, opponents, rebuttals, discussion among board members, motion, second, discussion among board members, and a vote. Members of the public may address the board, and the following rules apply. Each person may speak once for 5 minutes and shall not have more than one time to speak, except that the chair may allow 2 minutes to the applicant for rebuttal. When more than one person wants to speak on an issue, each side is limited to 3 speakers with 5 minutes each. The board may ask questions of any speaker and may allow more time or more speakers by a vote. Speakers should limit their remarks to the facts of the case and should avoid repeating comments that have been previously presented to the board. All speakers should come to the podium and speak directly into the microphone. Speakers will need to state your name and address for the record. Appeals of decisions by the BZA are made to the Knoxville City Council. A petition of such appeal shall be filed with the Plans Review and Building Inspections Department not more than 15 days from the date of BZA's decision. I will now ask Mark to call roll.
Amy Sherrill.
Hi.
Brad Salisbury. Here. Daniel Little.
Here.
Luis Ure.
Here.
Kimberly Black.
Here.
All right. First up here is to approve the minutes from the May 20th meeting.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Very good. Next section of the agenda is old business, and that will begin with BZA 250030. And as the applicant makes their way up, we'll have staff comments.
Yes. The applicant is requesting one variance related to a proposed gas station in the CG3 zoning district. The request is to decrease the minimum transparency requirement along the ground floor of the front facade that abuts a public right-of-way measured between 2 and 10 feet in height from grade from 30% to 3.5%. The applicant suggests the transparency cannot be met due to restrooms being proposed along the street-facing facade and therefore has provided such few windows. If the floor plan is reversed, the applicant states that the windows would be located behind proposed beverage coolers. The applicant should state why such few windows are being proposed and that a transparency reduction to 3.5% is necessary.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record. Will you push the button?
Here we go.
Excellent.
Michael Scott, MBI Companies, 299 North Weisgarber Road, Knoxville 37919. We're requesting our transparency along the North Shore elevation, which is the east elevation, to be reduced from 30% to 3.5%. That wall length that we have where the building sits, and it truly is the only place on the site it can sit, and in that orientation, we don't have the wall length to do the 30%. But at the recommendation of this board, we went back, added windows in where the restrooms, the male and the female restrooms would be, to a height that would still provide security and safety for the occupants of the building using those facilities. We feel like that's all the opening size we can give to maintain those parameters. So we request that variance.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor or in opposition of this item? Okay. All right. And you're welcome to sit down if you'd like while we discuss it. Discussion among board.
I had a couple of questions just to kind of reiterate some of the things from last month's meeting, but which direction does most of your traffic come from, or is there one, I mean, you have this appendage that goes out to Paper Mill Drive, but your front door, is that Paper Mill, or is it North Shore, or is it both?
The front of the building faces Paper Mill. There is a drive there, that's our right in, right out, and left turn. On North Shore, they're just right in, right out due to the median in the middle of North Shore, so you can't turn left.
So you would say a lot of your, I mean, is it 50/50, a lot of your traffic, 70%? How much of your traffic comes from Paper Mill versus North Shore?
I don't think I have that percentage.
Just, it's okay if you don't, I'm just wondering. And there's also a culvert, and I guess that's a creek right there, is that right?
It's a drainage culvert,
Okay.
and there is an easement through the, from about, I don't know, a quarter to almost halfway, that's about 30 feet wide, that runs from that drainage area at the intersection in North Shore and Paper Mill through our property onto the next property.
And you can't build over that easement?
No, you cannot.
And I assume that affects where you put your gas tanks and other components of the site plan as well?
The existing fuel tank farm is going to remain exactly where it is. The gas pumps are going to remain exactly where they are. The canopy is going to remain exactly where it is. We're just taking the car wash down, and that's where we're putting our new, larger building. And that culvert comes across the property like this. The North Shore property line is like this, so that building will only fit right there on the site. We can't rotate the building because then there's no room for parking in the front of the building. I mean, it just literally, that's the spot.
Well, and I would suppose, but you correct me if I'm wrong, that from a function of a gas station standpoint, you need your glass facing your pumps.
Correct.
And the reason for that is probably multi reasons, but
Right.
you can't have a wall facing the pumps. I would imagine it limits visibility for those actually working.
That's right.
And,
You need it for, loss prevention, safety. If the pump hose is ripped apart and fuel's leaking, there's an automatic shut off inside. So, like you said, there's multiple reasons.
why is this renovation taking place, Michael? I mean, right now, the station there is much smaller. I think, I'm not even sure, I'm not sure I can actually go into that particular station as it's structured right now. Like, do they sell anything? Is there a convenience store there right now at all?
Yes.
There is?
It's in that little kiosk structure
Okay.
that's underneath
bigger
the
than it
fuel
looks.
canopy.
So I'll say I don't have an issue. I mean, this isn't really about citing, right? I think you're actually not here for anything relative to the citing, and the citing makes perfect sense to me anyway. I do, have concerns about this is one of, in my opinion, one of the main sort of front doors of, coming off the interstate and coming into a fairly well-developed neighborhood. And I understand, right, that what you're working off is a prototypical layout, and that's usually based on an ideal condition. I don't believe that there's not alternatives, even if they're not ideal. I think that probably could be reworked to incorporate some other type of glass that turns the corner or something else. Yes, you may need it still facing the pumps, but I am struggling that this is the only option. Again, may not be ideal, it may not give you as many freezer doors, all of those things, but I have a hard time believing that there's not another way to.
Well, but
this
what I was asking about was that, I mean, I'm assuming code requires certain things relative to the reconstruction of a new structure that's taking the place of the one that's there. Are there restrooms there currently?
For staff only, there's a little unisex, little.
Are restrooms required under?
Well, yes, but that is about a 35-year-old structure too, and
Right.
wasn't a
But that's
provision, I guess.
that's kind of what I'm saying, is that your structure
Actually,
immediately.
I take that back.
Okay.
There are two restrooms that you have to go outside.
On the
and
back.
go in the back side. My mistake.
Can you still do that today?
Yes.
Okay. So code does allow that today.
The interior is very small in the typical convenience store sales. He's looking to expand that and increase the service he provides his customers at that location, thus the larger building.
Okay, and that's the motivation for the reconstruction, for the rebuild, is just
Other,
increasing
other than his,
size?
the corporate look. He's trying to bring his older businesses up to his new look, his new standard, with this new prototype. So, you know, like any other business, it goes through, McDonald's has done it for decades. Burger King, you name them, Casey's, Pilot. The point is that there's a re-imaging all businesses go through.
Sure.
And as a part of that is these nice, new, well-lit, open, convenience stores that are inviting. And just look at Buc-ee's. So,
Yeah, and again, I mean, I think one of the things we're charged with is minimum necessary. And I look at this and, again, I think there's other alternatives of how to lay this out. Is it ideal? Is it exactly what was wanted in terms of linear feet of shelving and all of that? Probably not. But it still is something that could be accomplished and still provide you the expansion that you're trying to do. But that's not, simply wanting an expansion isn't one of the metrics that we can look at hardship on.
I was just answering the question.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Keep in mind, inside the store, you have on that North Shore elevation, that east elevation, you have the restrooms. Then there's a deli prep area that completes that elevation. On the other side of the building, you have an L-shaped freezer, cooler, beer cave that runs almost a little more than half the length of the back wall, and then almost all the way down that west elevation. And that's, as mentioned before, if you go into any convenience store, that's about 95% of them are almost identical to that anyways. So this is nothing new, and there's a reason that business model works and the reason that's being used. And that's,
Yeah.
and you're suggesting him change his business model, I think.
Well, a business model isn't a metric that is part of our consideration for a
Right.
variance, is what I'm saying. So hang tight on further rebuttal. Are there other comments and discussion?
Is there a number of facilities required by code?
Yes, but again, yeah, you need to,
Microphone needs to be on, sir.
all of that's coded, but at the same time, I mean,
Well, does this
how do you
meet the
arrange
minimum, or
pieces?
is this,
It doesn't matter. The point is about whether there's another option that they could meet the intent of the code without needing a variance. It doesn't really matter what goes in it.
no, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, is that part of that option, is all of that?
What are you asking, Brad? I'm sorry? What
Just
part of-
that entire wall, does it all need to be restroom facilities, or could those restroom facilities be shrunk to where you don't have
Well, and that's
five
what,
commodes and
that's what I'm pointing out is that it's like the way the building is, they will have to have wall area in order to do any type of gas station, convenience store concept. And I think that anyone using this property for the same use in the future is going to have a similar problem. I don't think the property is oblong shaped to its front door, which is supposed to be on paper mill, but the way it's shaped from a site standpoint, from a use standpoint, actually encourages them to turn the building the way they've turned it. And I think that alone, combined with the fact that they have a huge drainage ditch running through and under the property, has its own easement, does affect and is a cause for a variance on this property from a transparency standpoint, just to be able to build a building that is usable, unless you're either putting glass up against your restrooms, and I understand why they do not want to do that, or you're putting glass up against your cooler space, back of house storage area for the goods that they're going to be selling. And you could do that, but you're going to get, I perceive that as being equally unattractive visually as a wall with some upper level glass windows installed to allow light into the restrooms. And I think this is one that should be considered because of the compilation of those things.
What are you suggesting is the hardship? Just the way the lot sits, or
Yeah, I think, I mean, the argument is that, well, this is a request for transparency. But I think the transparency request makes sense relative to the site itself and how it gets used. It is a long site with you have a driveway coming off a paper mill.
Right.
That is long and awkward to start with, to get there. That's being driven by this drainage ditch that has a bunch of water always going through it. And the easement that's really more the easement that's associated with that, which prevents that building from going one certain direction. And it gets more narrow towards the top of the site. And I think a lot of the traffic comes from Paper Mill. It also comes off of North Shore, but traffic on North Shore is limited. And in order to reuse the site away for this purpose, you're going to orient that building so that you can see your gas pumps, because the cashier has to be able to see it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, and I just share the entirely opposite opinion on that. I don't have any issue with the building size. I think that you could rearrange the program inside of it. You would have to give up some things in order to make that happen, but those restrooms very easily could fit behind the beer cooler. You would just have to split the beer cooler, which is undesirable. I get it, but that's not what we're here
I
to
think
task
that the
to.
sizing of those things, though, is based on the size of the square footage and what they're going to be
I'm
selling.
not saying the size is an issue. I'm saying you could make this work. By redesigning it, it just may not be the optimal of what the prototype is. And I think, so for me, looking at 30% glass, I think it's achievable.
I think we're designing someone else's project too much.
Well, my opinion is opposite of yours, and that's fair. So. Is there any further questions or discussion?
I'm struggling with the minimum adjustment necessary.
So am I.
I'm going to make a motion to deny BZA 250030. Mine is honestly a question of hardship and also minimum necessary.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed?
Opposed.
It's a 4-1. It's been denied. All right, next up is BZA 250042. Is our applicant with us? Okay, as they make their way up, we'll have staff comments. So did I skip? Flip the page, sorry. Sorry, you're right, yes, hi. Staff comments on BZA 250038.
The applicant is requesting one variance related to a proposed new multi-tenant monument directory sign in a CH2 zoning district. The request is to decrease the minimum required setback for a detached sign from no less than 10 feet from a street right-of-way or 15 feet from the edge of pavement, whichever is greater, to 2 feet from a street right-of-way. The applicant is proposing to remove and replace a previously used pylon sign with a new multi-tenant directory monument sign. The proposed sign will be located 31 feet 4 inches from the edge of pavement, but only 2 feet from the property line due to the width of the right-of-way along this property's street frontage. The applicant should discuss any alternative sign locations that were reviewed before proposing the specific location that would require a variance.
Thank you. Will you please state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, good afternoon. My name's Craig Cantrell. I'm Vice President with Graham Corporation. Our address is 2300 Old Callahan Drive, Knoxville, 37912.
Thank you. And will you please tell us your request and hardship?
Yes, you've heard about this project last meeting. We have a new monument sign that we're proposing for this location. This particular development parallels Clinton Highway. So as you look at the geometry of the lay of the buildings and the parking lot in relationship to the road, it's pretty consistent all the way from one end to the other. Our intent was to locate the monument sign in an island as shown on the development sheets that you have. We have come back with further detail on the actual location of the monument sign in relationship to the island itself, the stormwater system that actually is running through the curb line and the back part of the island location. And the requirement for us relative to placing that monument sign is to straddle that particular storm system, putting the one end of the monument sign in the middle of the island and the other end out past the curb line. And so taking into consideration the real estate that we have to work with, looking at placing it in an island to keep it in a position where it doesn't impact visibility, and then also trying to address placement relative to the storm system that runs right through that line. That is the design that we've been able to achieve. We've looked at multiple options, but the problem is in this particular location, the lay of the property in relationship to the property lines and Callahan Drive, Clinton Highway, it's basically parallel all the way across. So we don't gain advantage by moving it to the left end or to the right end. We're faced with the same dilemma at any location we look at across that development.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor or opposition to this item? Is anyone here to speak in favor or opposition? Thank you. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to board discussion.
I think when we last talked about this last month, we asked that you go back and look at moving that sign further into that island and pushing it and increasing that distance. Was that looked at?
It was looked at. The implication would be we'd have to relocate the storm system. If we get too close to the piping system underground there that's carrying all the storm water, we would compromise that. We went back and counseled with our civil engineer, Will Robinson, regarding that point in an effort to try to improve our position, but his concern was compromising the storm structure or the storm system.
Could you speak to why 2 feet is the most you can do on that setback? I'm trying to understand here.
I have an exploded view. I don't know if you all are able to zoom in or if you have an exploded view of the monument sign detail. You can maybe go back to the, well, that certainly shows the foundation design of the monument sign. You can see the two ends of the sign foundation. And so if you look at that and go back up to the previous page, you can see in the island to the left of the entry-exit position, you'll see that structure, and you can see that it's straddling the black line that runs through it, which it's basically straddling in the middle of that black line representing the HDPE piping system that is the storm water system for that. And so the two poles that are concreted into the ground on either end of the sign representing the foundation of it, positioning it so that you're missing the storm system, trying to get it in the island as much as possible without impacting the storm system. That's where that ends up putting that particular part of the foundation that's out in the area of concern.
Thank you.
So I had a similar question. If you look at it, it's roughly 12 feet between, and you've got an 18-inch pipe you're trying to miss. It seems as though it could be, I understand you can't get too close to the pipe,
Right.
but it seems like it could be pushed back a little bit potentially. Again, looking for that minimum adjustment.
Could we get inches closer if, you're dealing with contractors that are digging with equipment and you're close to a water line, a water storm structure system?
Yeah.
You wanna be careful that you don't hit it. And so you wanna give yourself a little bit of room for, what might be otherwise an accident that causes a lot of repair. The good news is we're way off the road. When you look at our position relative to edge of pavement, this sign is from the traffic that's passing by is way out of the way. And I think that's advantageous relative to the overall look as well as the safety aspect of the position of that sign relative to Clinton Highway traffic, as well as then the traffic that's coming onto the property.
Bless you.
I'm struggling to remember, did we discuss last month about potentially taking up a parking space, or if the sign could be pushed in onto a parking space away completely from the stormwater line?
Well, that's the problem with the parallel nature of this development, because if you look at any parking space, it's no different than the island. It's the same, effectively, it's the same length as the island, and you've got the storm structure that you're going to have to center your foundation around. So whether I moved it to any parking space on the left or any parking space on the right, I'm in the same dilemma. And I'm basically at the same position with the same issues.
Yeah, I know, yeah. And I think, again, this is an engineering question, but there is a point when you're on just a drive aisle and it's not where cars are backing in, the dimension of that changes, if I remember that correctly. Is that right, Austin? It didn't work?
That's correct.
Okay, so, when I look at, number one, does it have to be 18 feet wide? Could it be 15 feet? And then if you were to position the island so that the two islands aligned, maybe the island could be a little bit longer. I worry that there's so much going on here that simply just moving it, up and down the same line, wanting to make sure that other things have truly been explored, and this is absolutely the last resort, only option on the table.
Well, from the perspective of, positioning it where it can actually be seen from the highway as one goes up and down, our view is the only option really is somewhere along that outside row of parking. The only other option would, if you were to say, well, where else could you put it? At that point, you're kind of struggling with figure out where else could you put it? I mean, you can't put it right up at the storefront. And so you just don't have much other real estate to consider.
Is there any other further discussion from the board? Is anyone inclined to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll make a motion that we approve BZA 25038 as written.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Aye. All right, 4-1, motion's passed. Next item here is BZA 250039. Are you speaking on that one as well?
Yes.
Okay. Staff comments before he begins?
The applicant is requesting one variance related to a proposed new multi-tenant monument directory sign in a CH2 zoning district. The request is to decrease the minimum required setback for a detached sign from no less than 10 feet from a street right-of-way or 15 feet from the edge of pavement, whichever is greater, to 7 feet from a street right-of-way. The applicant is proposing to remove and replace a previously used pylon. That's not accurate at all. The proposed sign will be located 28 feet 10 inches from the edge of pavement, but only 7 feet from the property line due to the width of the right-of-way along this property's street frontage.
Thank you. Please state your name and address again for the record.
Sure. Today, I'm Craig Cantrell. I am Vice President with Graham Corporation here in Knoxville. Our address is 2300 Old Callahan Drive, Knoxville 37912.
Very good. And describe your request and hardship.
I'm sorry?
Describe your request and
sorry.
hardship.
Well, the good news is it's the same song, second verse. As far as this is a development that's literally a few hundred yards up the street on Clinton Highway heading north. A smaller development, single building. Similar situation, though, where you can see the storm system. In this case, the storm system isn't on the curb line. It's actually in the parking row lane there that fronts Clinton Highway. There's one island, and it was our intent to put the monument sign in that island. And we have been able to, because the storm system is further in, we're able to shift the structure of the monument sign further in. Therefore, we're only compromising a little less than 3 feet on the setback as opposed to the 7 feet on the previous one. And so but it's the same situation. We're having to position the monument sign's foundation on either side of the existing storm system that runs through that property and runs through that island.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor or opposition of this item? Okay, very good. We will move on to board discussion.
So why can this one not be shifted to 3 feet to meet the setback and get away from that existing light that it is in the middle of?
So again, we have a blow up of that location. I think shifting it 3 feet is actually putting it out past the island curb. If you look at the, I've got the benefit of a blow up picture that you don't have, but we are a little less than 3 feet away from the curb edge. And so if we try to shift it that direction, one, it puts us closer to the storm system, but two, we end up at the edge of the curb. There's a concern from a safety standpoint as the traffic is in those parking spaces, and you've got the position of the monument sign that you don't want to get too close to the edge for cars that are turning in and around. You've got this structure that's basically right there on the edge of where their cars might be pulling in or pulling out of a parking spot. So you want a little bit of buffer in order to be able to make sure that somebody with a big pickup truck doesn't cut the corner too tight and ends up impacting the monument sign as they try to park or try to leave. So taking those things into consideration, we felt like that was it accomplished the objective of making sure we didn't impact the storm system and also made sure that we weren't too close to the edge from safety considerations.
It almost looks like this is oversized, that you might be able to extend the island to address that concern, but it's hard to tell. I'm just eyeballing it from the width of the spaces.
What is the width of that drive aisle?
I can't say for certain. Rebecca, would you know that? Typically, it's 25 feet, but I don't have a scale with me to be able to confirm that.
Austin, do you have a set of plans?
Yes, 1 second. I'm trying to scale that as well. But I'm having technology issues.
It happens.
It's coming in close, I think.
I'm thinking this is a protected document, and I'm not able to find that result.
Any further discussion? I think they explained to us last time that this pylon can't go here because that's part of their drainage. Right. Is anyone ready for a motion? Still investigating.
I am.
I'll make a motion to approve BZA 250039 as submitted.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
With no other measurements in the contrary, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye.
Aye.
3-2, the motion's passed.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Next item, BZA 250042. I believe I saw the applicant. Yep, there he is. As you make your way down, we'll have staff comments, please.
The applicant is requesting one variance related to a multifamily dwelling in a SW4 zoning district. The request is to decrease the minimum required riverfront setback from the 813 normal pool and the south waterfront Ford zoning district from 70 feet to 60 feet. The proposed project is currently under review by the Administrative Review Committee. This encroachment into a required setback was identified during this review process and was brought to the attention of the developer as a needed variance. Otherwise, the building footprint would need to be revised to meet the required setback.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Joshua Henson, CEO of Henson Developments, 900 Phillips Avenue, Unit 103. And we're requesting to decrease the pool elevation of our building from 70 to 60 feet. And I'm going to let Logan talk more specifically about the variance, but I wanted to just kind of give a brief light into our conversation. So when we originally met with staff, engineering, and building, this particular part of the waterfront is unique in the sense that it has a culvert that encroaches on the property. And so when we originally sent in our plans for the waterfront walkway, we had the waterfront bending around the front of that culvert. And looking back with engineering and staff, they requested that for us to go back and review. And we essentially knew what they were asking. They're asking us to build a bridge over that culvert. So they're essentially asking us to follow the water line of the river as opposed to following the water line that culvert's creating. So we went back and got pricing on building a bridge. So and we feel that that's the best thing for that waterfront and the walkway. And so reviewing this, we ask that you all see this hardship as we do, that this riverfront this culvert not be considered part of the riverfront because there's a storm drainage and it was probably made by that drainage easement. So, Logan, I'll let you speak.
Thanks. Logan Higgins, 133 South Gay Street. Appreciate your all's time. So we were here last month, and I wanted to, we postponed to come back, and I wanted to try to include more context and better explanation of the details of this. So I want to start off by talking about what the riverfront development standards, kind of what goes into that. So the SW district has front, rear, side setbacks, all of those. On this project, on this property, the rear setback is 3 feet. We're very far away from that. However, the riverfront development has certain requirements with the setback and building the greenway and a tree buffer, all of these things that are all included in the same section of the building code to really define a certain pattern for the riverfront. This, all of those features and requirements are measured at a parallel line from the river. So it's based on, following the river line and the natural flow of the river line. This site specifically, as you can see in the topography map and our drawings, has this drainage inlet, or this inlet that's caused by drainage that was built in the early 20th century, and it doesn't change the flow of the river, doesn't change the direction of the river, but it is low enough to cause the topography line that we measure parallel to then form this giant encroachment into the site. So when we met to discuss, as Josh mentioned, some of these things, and we had originally proposed the greenway and associated items following the parallel line of that topography line, but the engineering staff and the city were like, to follow the spirit of this section of the code, it doesn't make sense to actually follow this inlet. It makes sense to build a bridge over it, to ignore the inlet aspect and to follow the natural flow of the river. Unfortunately, every other aspect of that is something that staff can waive internally except for the building setback. So that's why we're here today. The intent of the building setback line, like I said, it's to continue the riverfront line to create this section of development that's parallel to the natural flow of the river. And this line specifically is meant to block views from adjacent properties. And I'm fairly certain that's written out as for the intent of that. And in this situation, our encroachment is primarily related to this inlet. We're not blocking any views. We're not going out to the river, up to the waterway. In fact, the building itself, the upper stories, the conditioned space, are actually almost double what the requirement is. So the requirement's 70 feet. Our building is actually runs about almost 140 feet from the river. So what you're seeing as the encroachment is single-story patio outdoor space for the project. So we're not blocking views. We're not hurting the intent of this requirement. And we're, in fact, as we said, the greenway and the associated layering from the riverfront are following the more natural line and not following this topography line. So the question is, why is this necessary? Why do we need to encroach in here at all in this small slither of space? There's two things. The egress separation, we have to maintain a certain separation between egress points. And as you can see, our staircase, and to get to that is right in that zone. Second thing is the structural frame continuity. So, it doesn't make sense to, it's harmful structurally to get to this point and then inset and bump in and zigzag around to avoid this. And it's just a unreasonable requirement when we're not following it in other ways.
You're
So,
nearing your 5 minutes, if you could wrap it up.
yes, ma'am. So our hardship is simple. We have very unique anomaly on this site that doesn't happen anywhere else in the zone. One that could not have been conceived or could not have been considered or perceived during the conception of this portion of the code and this requirement. And one that to even satisfy the spirit of the code, we've been asked by plans review or engineering in the city to ignore. Our encroachment is as minimal as possible. It's the minimum to satisfy some of these requirements, the code requirements and the structure. And we just hope and ask that you all hold this to the same standard as as engineering has asked us to follow with the intent of the code. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor or opposition? Okay, we've got at least one, if you want to come on forward. If you'll state your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
My name's Janice Toger. I live at 326 Taylor Road, South Knoxville, 37920.
Thank you.
I've just got something real short. I'm a member of the South Waterfront Advisory and Advocacy Group and have been involved with the South Waterfront Vision Plan since its inception. First, let me say I'm really pleased to see the plans for these units are condos. With all the new apartments, we need more owner-occupied housing in general, and especially in the South Waterfront. I'm in opposition to this variance for two reasons. First, keeping access to the river public is an important part of the vision plan. The river walk and the 70-foot setback from the river are vital parts to preserving the public space and should be preserved. Approving this variance would set a bad precedent. Second, the applicant has failed to show hardship. The code and the characteristics of this piece of property have not changed since this property was purchased a year ago. These may prevent him from constructing a building with this exact design, but in no way does following the code, which he knew about when he designed the building, deprive him of beneficial use of this property. It has no hardship, and this variance should be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Okay, very good. We'll move on to board discussion. So I will say I have a hard time. This is a very large parcel. It's a very large development. It is hard for me to understand this as a deprivation of use or hardship in that grant. I will say it is also very unique that a feature on a different parcel is ultimately what is creating the setback on this one, which is a fairly unique circumstance, but I don't know that, again, is that enough of a circumstance to warrant a variance, especially as a minimum?
Yeah, the standard was set there for a reason, regardless of geographic location. It is the waterfront and it's limited. I have a hard time redefining the limits of the river because it's based on an elevation, regardless of whether there's an inlet. A river is not a linear feature. The riverbank flows, and it goes in and it goes out, and that's part of its character.
So you don't find any value to erosion from a stream or drainage ditch over time, changing that situation at all?
I agree, it changes it, but the limits as described are based on FEMA flood mapping, I'm assuming, and that 913 contour is based on that flood map, which hasn't changed in about 10 years.
Sure, but how do you, from a a generalized code standpoint, if you're, defining that watermark, you're trying to hit a standard across the river, I would imagine, generally, and as a commonality, and then to not be willing to give any exception for outflow of water causing erosion over time. Because we're not actually given a setback, if I understand this correctly, from the river. Am I wrong about that? It's really from a section of stream that's been eroded.
It's a building line. It's under block and layout in the South Waterfront 4 District. It says building lines, minimum of 70 feet from normal pool elevation 813.
Yeah, it's defined by normal pool.
Logan, I have a question for you really quick. This design ended up this way because engineering gave you direction?
Yeah. Yeah, and we met with that and, or met with him about it and discussed the, like I said, following the, not following the setback for everything else related. And like the other thing is the encroachment there, we would gladly, if we could, adjust the building to avoid it. But with the egress separation, we can't move that section any further out of it to avoid that. So. And Austin, I don't know if you want to discuss or Mark some of the thoughts with the engineering discussion.
The engineering administration did request that that river walk be pushed closer to the river to create some continuity and a better pedestrian experience, and to better align with the typical flow line, which did move some of those dimensions that are able to be modified at a staff level. However, we have no say over the building line, which is the request for the variance today.
Logan, I don't understand how that's related then. Like, why did you relate that, what you just said to what? I mean, you said in your comments, if I heard you correctly, that engineering gave you direction and it ended up in this way. So how does that seems to conflict? Does it not? In other words, he's saying the building line versus the direction. Like they were just giving you direction for where to put the walkway, not the actual building.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't trying to say that they determined that. It was more just in the layering from the riverfront being those separations following the greenway and then the zones behind that and then where the building goes to. We were trying to create that continuity across through there. But again, so that's why I mentioned that part of the discussion with the egress and everything. That's more hard defined building. And when we were going through the design, I mean, this is in plans review right now. We were thinking that if the setbacks are flexible for everything else, that there would be flexibility here, and then realize that we would need to come to BZA. And one thing I'll add is, like I said, the egress is the scariest point and the structure to try to work around this. So if, in your all's opinion, there's that encroachment on the north side that's a couple feet that slithers, and that's tied to, we were originally trying to follow a parallel line there with the edge of that. We could, if you all are allowed to approve, based on like a alteration, we could pull it off of that end and just focus on the inlet. That was kind of an accessory of this, but difficulty and if getting egress, like you can see how further, even if we bring it back on the edge there, we're still encroaching because that inlet is, it's a curve. So it's almost impossible for us to get away from it there.
Can I add one quick? Mayor?
Sure.
Thank you. Please keep in mind, I live 2 minutes from this site. I use this greenway every single day. I walk my dog, I run this greenway every day. I love this area of Knoxville. I am taking a building, and I understand when I bought this, I didn't understand the implications of this man-made, what we feel is a man-made drainage easement. But I am taking a site that has been neglected for years, and I'm trying to make the community better with this development. And the other thing I want to keep in mind is when we met with staff, we made a greenway around that culvert, and they asked us to make it the experience better, and that is exactly what we're doing. And all we're asking is just to take 10 feet off of this, and I'll be happy to add trees, I'll be happy to do whatever we need to, but we need this for this development. I wouldn't be standing here unless we did need it. I work with Logan all the time, and I make him find ways to not have to be here. But this is one of those things.
I mean, I just find that hard to believe. Like, we're not even talking about a change in density. We're talking about a change in shape of a patio and pool, right? I mean, like, this isn't even, so like when you say that's not adjustable, I have a really hard time agreeing with that statement.
Well, I think the hardship, and totally, I've stood up here asking for density requests and everything, but this one is, staff is asking us to consider that not part of the riverfront. And now I'm standing here saying, please consider the same as staff and use this as a hardship, that it is a hardship. This is the only site in all of the riverfront. I guarantee you, I've met to talk to Chris Halley, I've talked to all engineering, stormwater engineering, and this is an anomaly that's happened just in this one area. And it's created by a man-made structure. Yes, I'm sure there was a gully there, but it has gotten this big over, 80 years. That's not the river doing that, that's a man-made structure. And all I'm asking is that you all would consider the same that they are, that you all consider this the same that they are. This is not part of the riverfront. This is a man-made structure that is being created by the stormwater drain.
Is the stormwater drain public or private?
It's a through water system. Anytime it crosses onto private property, it's maintained by the private property owner. Anything in the right of way is publicly maintained.
So where the erosion is, is owned by, like, whatever's happening there, the maintenance or lack thereof is by the private owner?
Yes, with that statement that I just said, that would be true. There may be some conflicts with TVA and how they would allow maintenance to occur, but I would say that TVA does have allowances for property owners to maintain their frontage, their river frontage.
I would love to donate it back to the city.
Do you own the adjacent parcel?
Pardon?
Do you own the adjacent parcel?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you pursued, like, are there options to remedy it? That
Yes,
would fix your problem?
Yes, but there's a building sitting on top of it. And so the original plan was to build a building over it. And to be honest, we didn't, I did surveying, it didn't come up. After I bought the property, we found out after we built this elongated structure over the drain. And so we had to go back and redraw it. And there's a structure over there where the Union Printers is currently sitting, that is over the drain. And so can't tear it out now.
To also add some clarity to that question, the adjacent property, he's developing both, but it's different ownership structures and partners and everything, so we can't really take that land. And then also, TVA would not allow us to change the elevation. We're certainly going to be adding erosion controls to prevent further erosion, but I don't believe that they would at all allow us to raise that section.
Yeah, we're going to be lucky if we get the bridge.
Yeah, and that was the other thing, is I know there was allusion to a bridge, but without a, approved plan in place, and it's a hard thing to consider.
Yeah, please know, we are trying our best for it. I mean, I think it's the best thing for the
Yeah,
city.
but again, as we're looking at the intent and wishing it was there for you.
Well, and that goes back to, I think my issue with the variance request is the hardship appears to be the definition of the riverfront, which is also their amenity. And it was known going in. I don't know, once again, if we're doing the minimum.
Well, no, would be the answer, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you reduce the size of the footprint. Any further thoughts or discussion?
Yeah, I'm not certain how to define the minimum either, but it is clear that, I mean, water levels will adjust as erosion occurs. And I think they have a point to the need for that based on that culvert. It's something that, was built, and yeah, the water line will seep in and curves that way because of the erosion that's occurred. But there's no harm at all in their request, and it creates a good building with a nice patio, and it's very reasonable. They meet everything else, and it's a minimal ask. I don't think there's a reason we should hold them up or force redesign over this particular issue.
I'm also struggling with what the minimum is, but like Daniel, I am considering that it's only 10 feet variation or request. But again, is it necessary?
Any new project, you can ask that question on with any variance request that comes before us, because you can always blame the design. And I just disagree with that as a priority in terms of the philosophy of why you should say yes or no to something holistically. They did not dig that culvert. It was dug by itself over time, and they're trying to maximize the use of the property while still doing something good in terms of the design for the community. And it's reasonable. It's not, they're clearly working with staff to try to create a project that overall is good for the community. And they meet the setback. The building itself meets the setback. Why force them to redo everything over a patio? That doesn't make any sense when it's just a culvert.
Don't know that I agree with you on this one, Daniel.
You don't have to.
So there's 5 of us. Okay. I'll make a motion to deny BZA 250042 on lack of hardship, and it's not denying reasonable use.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, so it's 3-2, so this request has failed. Motion passed. Variance failed. All right, next item is BZA 25, is in a new business, 0044. Is our applicant with us? BZA 250044. Okay, as you make your way up, we'll have staff comments.
Yes, the applicant is requesting 3 variances related to a proposed single-family dwelling in an R2 zoning district. The first request is to decrease the minimum required rear setback in an R2 zoning district from 25 feet to 7 feet. The second request is to decrease the minimum required front setback from 20 feet to 10 feet. And the third request is to increase the maximum allowed impervious surface coverage in an R2 zoning district from 40% to 42.7%. The lot is a lot created by deed and has not yet been platted. Once a plat has been approved, the property will be a non-conforming lot of record, and development of the lot must meet all applicable dimensional and design regulations of the district in which it is located, with the exception of the lot area requirement that renders it non-conforming. The rear of the property abuts a railroad right-of-way, and the applicant is proposing a gravel driveway to decrease the amount of impervious coverage on the lot.
Thank you. Will you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Robert Blantz. We reside at 1040 Parish Road, but we're speaking about 5028 Tenwood Drive. I'm a simple country boy. I'm not a speaker, okay? So I'm just keep it short and
You're doing great.
sweet, okay? We've been remodeling old houses for 20 years. At my age and my health, I'm wondering,
You're okay.
we want to try to build a new house. For the first time ever. And on one of our lots, and we think people will enjoy the house. I've designed the house with a certain size to be able to fit the lot, with 3.5 baths, open living room, kitchen concept, and we want to be able to meet our requirements, to be able to do this on this lot. The bathrooms, 2 of them, is going to be all-in-one bathroom, shower commode, and sink is all in one. That's for the 2 bedrooms. Master bathroom is going to be a normal bathroom. The half bathroom will have a commode and sink combo together, and we think people will enjoy it. And we'd like to have that opportunity.
Okay. All right, so we have a clear, written here in your request of what, you would like the setbacks to be based on the lot. The next thing we generally ask is to help us understand the hardship, and that can be, there's a list of things we're able to consider: the shape, the size, the topography, various things. So if you could just describe a little bit of what makes this lot unique and presents the need for getting an exception.
Yeah, and we own the house on the side of it is 5026. And what we was told at first, we had to have the house close to it and be crowded in the house, and we don't want to crowd it. So that's why we're wanting to slide the house over and get the setback and everything else.
Okay. Thank you. You did great.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone here to speak in favor or opposition of this item? Okay, very good. We will move on to board discussion.
It looks like they've sited it in about the best spot that they could possibly site it to even try and put it on this lot.
I agree with that. Just off the top, the impervious surface doesn't bother me given the very small deviation here. We're talking about 2.7%.
Tucked it back against the road, the railroad. Is there any issues from engineering with drainage?
No concerns.
And there's no doubt that the shape and the depth of this, it would need some kind of a variance. It's just not, you start adding up that, and there's not much left that's buildable.
There's not, and the further you go to the south, the worse it gets, so
Yeah.
you've done about everything that you can.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve BZA-25-0044 as stated for the shape and size of the lot, based on the shape and size of the lot.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Variance has been granted. All right, next item on the agenda is BZA 250045. Is our applicant present?
Nobody.
Anyone online? I don't think so, right?
5540 Newbert Springs.
Okay. Can I put them together? Yeah. Can I put them together? To move them to the end of the agenda? Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay. I'll make a motion that we move BZA 250045 and BZA 250046 to the end of the agenda.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, very good. We'll come back to those. That brings us to BZA 250047. Is our applicant present? Is you? I'm opposing. Oh, you're opposing. Okay. Is the applicant themselves here? Okay, I'm gonna make the same motion and we'll come to it at the end of the agenda. BZA 250047, postponed to later in the agenda.
I will
Second.
Okay.
Do we need to vote?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right, BZA 250048. Is our applicant present? Very good. As you make your way down, we'll have staff comments, please.
Yes, the applicant is requesting one variance related to a proposed addition to a single-family dwelling in an R2 zoning district. The request is to decrease the minimum required rear setback from 14 feet to 8 feet. The existing dwelling has a legal non-conforming rear setback of 14 feet. The proposed scope is to build an enclosed porch, which is considered part of the primary structure per Article 10.4, Table 10-1. And I will add that there is currently an existing deck, and per discussions with the developer and the permitting team, the reviewers, they're wanting to just build on top of that footprint. But an enclosed porch is part of the building.
Thank you. Will you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Mark Chambly. You want the address of the site or my personal address?
Doesn't matter to me.
It's 2109 Stockbridge Lane.
Thank you. And will you describe your request and hardship, please?
Okay, this is we've tried to consider putting this, this was a, kind of like a dream for Tom and Susie Cass since they started talking to me about this. Tom actually passed away with pancreatic cancer. So Susie wants to continue this in his memory of building this. Once we got deeper into it and started looking at the setbacks and so on. So looking at the way that this home was originally designed by the developer, they made a decision to put the garage doors on the left side of the home, which is on the widest part of it, instead of them being facing the street, which pushed the house into the corner of this lot. So we've considered putting the addition, I don't know which way that would be if you're facing it from the street, on the left side where the two is, but there's a kitchen there that is not a egress into this room. And on the other side of the home, where the 14-foot is a master suite and bathroom. And neither one of those are for like the social area that they have desire of, which is an enclosed sunroom just off the kitchen where the back door of the home actually is right there on the right side of that as you would come out. So logistically, it's the place on the home that would make the most sense to put it. And let's see. I don't really have anything else to add to it. It's just them asking for a variance to put that in there.
Thank you.
So I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor or opposition? Okay, we'll move on to board comments. Board discussion.
So the hardship is the shape of the existing lot?
Is it?
It's certainly not shape. I don't know if that was the expressed hardship, though.
Can-
The shape of the lot is part of it, but where the home was put on the lot is what's creating the hardship. If it had been more too centered into the lot, and this is also indicative of, it's not in my picture here, unfortunately, but the houses along that line, there's multiple homes that are pushed really close to that back line.
Yeah, this is I certainly understand the desire to work over top of where the porch is and the connection, but seeing how much lot is available on that side really doesn't make that challenging to say there were no other options.
Yeah, it's my difficulty too, seeing the space available.
Well, but why not put it on the other side of the house? I'm assuming you're putting it there because of the footprint?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Here's okay. Why do you want the extension, the addition, where you're placing it there?
Okay, currently they have like a patio table. This is where they would go out and have breakfast or whatever. It's a space that's already created. And what the desire was from them was just to enclose it into a sunroom, which, you know, speaking with, when I talk to those guys, it doesn't matter if it's enclosed, it's part of the building. So then instead of just enclosing the deck, it needs to be torn down, footing put in, and built into the structure of the home.
Is there anything about the layout of the existing home that would prevent it or make it difficult or just unusable to move around the corner of the house?
Yeah, it's where the kitchen is. When you say around the corner, you're talking
I
about
guess
just shifting it to where?
I planned south. I don't know what direction that is.
If it was, as the picture is, if it was to be directionally down on this corner,
Yes,
then that whole side down through there is the kitchen.
okay.
And, I mean, it
And it
doesn't,
just can't be accessed through
No.
the kitchen? There's just too much in the way? Or
they just renovated the kitchen and the wall on that side, literally all the way down, is cabinets.
My first thought wasn't about the space available. It was, why did they put the house exactly right there?
It was, I think the reason why they placed it was curb appeal with having the garage doors around on the side of the home. Because the garage is that extension that goes toward the street. And instead of it being a front garage door, they shifted the house to the right, and that's where the 24 foot's coming in. They come around and drive into the garage.
Okay, interesting okay. That garage is accessed on the side of the house?
Correct, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Right where the 26 is on, is that image out here? Yes. Maybe I can point to this one. The 26, where that 26 is, to the, back
Could've
toward
done
the
that
street,
differently.
the garage doors are right there on the side. Not facing the cul-de-sac, but you have to turn and come in.
Certainly the most challenging approach for a vehicle ever.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. But it takes your garage door off of the face of the house, which is what they were doing, which
Daniel, I
aesthetically.
apologize, I canch hear you. I'm sorry, sir.
I was just
We're just-
talking with my
Oh.
colleagues, the design is to keep that garage door off of the Stockbridge Lane
Yes.
view and move it around to the side. So I kind of understand why they did that, but
Yeah.
it pushes the house.
You shifted it to the right.
I completely understand all of the things that you've presented, and I'm struggling because, expense isn't one of the factors, and the shape of the lot, topography, all of the same things seem to be playing in favor if there were other opportunities. And so I'm really trying to find
What about the layout of the existing home?
the biggest cost.
That's not just cost.
Until
There
they
are
just
certain places you don't want,
They just redid the kitchen as new cabinets. That's why they don't want to do a door on that wall. Right, so.
well,
it's
were
difficult to-
there always cabinets on that wall?
There was,
Before, regardless of whether or not they're new or not.
no, there wasn't cabinets on that wall. What
Okay.
there was a dine-in kitchenette, breakfast nook, I guess it should say. And what they've done was they enlarged the kitchen in order to use that space. But the way that wall is in elevation, it's somewhat sloped down on that side. So if the kitchen hadn't been redone, could a doorway have been put in? I mean, yes, anything's possible.
Okay. And I would say equally, though, that if the house hadn't been placed there, you could have done that.
Yeah,
Is that one of the considerations, though?
Yeah, siding, I think that's how the house it's a physical pre-existing condition on a somewhat sloped lot, and a design choice from the designer and original builder created a circumstance that, you could just not add it, I guess.
Has that porch always been there?
I apologize.
Has that porch always been there
Yes, sir.
from when the house was built?
Well, I can't speak to all the way back to 95 timeframe, but looking at it as a builder, it does not look to be added on. There's a exit door there. There's a chimney that's not shown on the original drawing there, and the deck literally goes right out from it. I mean, it would make sense that it was an original structure. And the vinyl siding, which is original to the building, I have all reasons to believe, yes, that it is, but I don't know the full history of it.
I appreciate your candor.
Yep.
okay. Any further discussion or a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve BZA 25048, based on hardship of lot shape and existing siding.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. Variance has been granted.
Thank you for your time.
All right, next up is BZA 250049. Is our applicant are you the applicant? Okay. While she makes her way down, can you have staff comments?
Yes, the applicant is requesting one variance related to a proposed reconfiguration of a drive-through for a bank to include demoing the existing drive-through and constructing a new freestanding drive-through. The request is to increase the minimum required corner side setback in a CG2 zoning district from a build-to zone of 0 to 20 feet to 245 feet. Drive-throughs are considered a principal use, and per the principal use standards in Article 9.3.F.6 are to be located in the side, corner side, or rear of the property. The applicant should discuss why the drive-through could not be built as a connected addition to the existing building, therefore negating the need for a setback variance as a freestanding structure.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Annette Hummel, 10215 Technology Drive, Suite 304, Knoxville, 37932.
Thank you. And will you please describe your request and hardship?
This is an original bank, or an existing bank building with an existing drive-through that's off to the plan west side. And there's also a smaller drive-through on the north side of the building as well. We're proposing that the owner wants to renovate the exterior of the building, and part of that wants to remove the drive-through canopy that's on the north side of the building. And that it's a small canopy. And then on the west side of the building, there's a larger drive-through canopy that they would like to detach from the building, slide it over just a little bit farther to the west and angle it to improve circulation for the drive-through folks on site without causing conflicts with the entrance to the building, which would be on the east side. So we're trying to get most of the traffic, keep most of the traffic, the drive-through going around from Magnolia across the north side of the site and down to the new drive-throughs on the west side of the site. When they exit, right now they're forced to turn back towards the front of the building, and if they want to turn left on Magnolia, they can't do that because there's an existing median. So the way people get by that is to exit on Linden Avenue. So it keeps people from having to circle the building after they exit the drive-through to get back to Linden, so they can get to Lakeside and to Magnolia. I guess the variance request is that this zoning now requires a build-to setback, which is I was told that we needed to do a corner side, which is 0 to 10 feet, I believe, and to put the drive-through on the Lakeside Street part of the property would cause all kinds of conflicts with the front of the building and where people or patrons are parking. So we'd like to keep the drive-through on the side of the building it's already on, just detach it and move it over slightly. And I think we have a site plan that shows where the new drive-through would be.
Sorry, my sheet is not loading as well. It looks like there's additional parking spaces being added.
We're removing, I think, 5 spaces from the existing where the drive-through
Right.
is and adding them back over on the east side of the building.
And then what is the shape that is beyond those new 6 spaces?
Right now, there's existing 8 or 10 spaces in front of the building. We're adding, and there's grass pave on the remainder of it. We're wanting to take some of the grass pave out to create 6 spaces. And then, so that on the very end there would be what the grass pavers that are left.
Okay.
But
And-
just putting that drive-through on the east corner of the building or east corner of the site is going to cause all kinds of conflicts.
But if I understood you correctly, any type of roof structure or otherwise attaching the two would make them one.
Yeah, because it's a freestanding principal use, that's the reason why it has to meet the setback standards. If it was connected on this exact same place that it's sited now, but it was somehow connected, it would be part of the original structure, be seen as an addition, and it wouldn't have to meet it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Discussion among board?
And we've also got some architects on Zoom. I don't know if they have anything they want to add.
Maybe not yet. Oh, someone came off.
No, this is Dave Sabina with Larson Curley Architects. My name and address, Dave Sabina, 3 Farm Colony Drive, Bourne, Pennsylvania. We were looking at redoing the architecture of the building, and the attached drive-through now is an upgrade from the original tube system that was there to a more modern, intelligent machine, which requires a larger space. And placing that new technology even in the space that was there was not going to allow any of the circulation to happen at that west side of the building. So we thought it was best interest and best for the circulation of the site to just detach it a little bit to give everybody a little more breathing room and make the vehicular traffic a little more comfortable for their customers.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, discussion board?
I think I understand how the shape of this lot's creating a traffic. I mean, it worked before the way it was apparently, but I think what they've put forward is better in consideration of the combination of Linden and Magnolia and Lakeside there, and how all of that works together relative to the traffic flow on the property and its elongated shape. What they're asking for, from my perspective, makes sense.
Yeah, I can't see it, that drive-through being positioned at the corner, maybe not even working, but certainly not being more beneficial to the community. So when we talk about the intent of that build too, I don't think a drive-through was what was hoped for in that. And certainly something could be manufactured to attach, but isn't necessary.
That building's staying in the same spot, right?
The building's not moving.
Yeah, that's what I'm just making sure I'm seeing that right.
Any more discussion, or anyone have a motion?
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I just want to make sure that the setback we're requesting is 247 feet, 247.95 feet.
It's listed as 245.
So can I make a motion changing that?
Not to make it bigger.
If you'll hold for just 1 second while Mark checks. Yeah, typically, when we publish the notice, you can grant up to that variance request, but no more. But that's why I think Mark wants to check on something.
It's not in the language of the application.
We had submitted an updated application on the 30th, I believe.
Yeah, so this didn't get updated, and so you did send an email to someone on our staff, and you did request the 247. However, it just never got reflected onto the page 2 from 245.
Are you willing to postpone for a month?
We're on a tight schedule.
Can you make 245 work?
We will try to make 245 work. I'm told easier said than done, but
I think the board can vote on 245. They cannot vote on 247.
okay.
Make a motion, we approve BZA 25049 as written.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Oh, Mr. Aaron's?
After this vote.
Okay. All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
I think that if you want to proceed, if you want to talk with Mark after the meeting and pursue 247, because that's our mistake, we'll waive the fees. But that way you can move forward with 245, and if they grant 247, you can adjust. We could probably,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you. All right, we have 3 items that we moved to the end of the agenda. No one new has joined Zoom, correct? No one new is on Zoom? Okay, so we have 3 items here. Applicants don't appear to have arrived. There is someone here to speak in opposition. Is that?
Since the applicant's not here, but there is opposition, you could go ahead and hear the case and hear the opposition, or you could just postpone. It's up to the board's decision, yeah.
Can we ask him if he wants to be heard?
Well, I mean, he showed up, so clearly. he wants
You
to
showed
be
up,
heard.
we would like to respect your time. Do you want to be heard?
Okay, which item were you here to speak on?
0047.
Okay,
Creekhead Drive.
okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we postpone BZA 250045 and 46 to next month's agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, very good. BZA 250047 is 6109 Creekhead Road, and we'll have staff comments.
Yes, the applicant is requesting one variance related to a proposed addition to a single-family dwelling in an AG zoning district or ag zoning district. The request is to decrease the minimum required interior side setback in an AG zoning district from 35 feet to 24 feet. Per our inspection history, a complaint was entered for construction noise. When a building inspector investigated the matter, it appears that the construction of the addition started without a permit. The property owner then applied for a permit, and during the plans review process, it was discovered that the proposed addition does not meet the required interior side setback.
Thank you. The applicant is not here to describe, but we do have someone here to speak. So if you will come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
First time I've ever done this, so excuse me if I
Welcome.
mess up. My name is Michael Mills at 6113 Creekhead Drive. I'm the neighbor right next door. We've talked to this man 2 or 3 times, and he has actually mowed down some of our trees and some of our property. He's went over the property line, mowed down some of our trees and some of our time. I told him he had to get a permit when he first started. He did not want to get a permit. The city actually put a stop work order on him back in March. I want to say it was in March. He said screw the city basically, and he was going to do it anyway. So he continued to build, and he continued to do everything that the city asked him to stop on. He was out there today building the porch on it, even though he's supposed to have a stop work order. The neighbors are fed up with it. I'm fed up with it, and that's where we stand. He doesn't live in the neighborhood. He doesn't live in Knoxville. This man lives out of town. He lives in Nashville, and he's from Nashville. And he bought this house to flip it, but he's building this house with no permits, no nothing. Nothing's getting inspected, and now he's covering everything up. And now he wants to apply for an easement that he's not even here to be able to. And he knew it was today. I got a little frustrated. One of the guys from the city, I talked to him. He kind of calmed me down, and because I was really, really frustrated. I was hot this morning when I found out this was today. I took off work and came over here and left our job site. I'm a general contractor by trade, and I have to follow the rules. I think everybody else should have to too.
Okay, thank you. All right, nobody else is here to speak, so we'll open up for board discussion.
Oh, I don't know what to discuss right now.
I have a question, Christina. Is there an equivalent to sort of dismissal by default, so to speak, where the person who made the request has the burden of proving?
Sure, I mean, you can look at the application, the hardship is stated on there. You know, they're signing under penalty of perjury, that what they've said in there is accurate. If you review that page and all the information that's been submitted and you don't find that there's a hardship or that there's no cause for granting a variance, you can absolutely, you know, vote to deny it. But I think you're saying just based on the fact that they're not here.
Right.
I don't think that's typically the board's standard practice.
And normally we would postpone.
Given that there's somebody in opposition, does that change the analysis a little bit?
I appreciate that he showed up.
Yeah, and it's
So
now on
do I.
record, so it's in the minutes.
Yeah, it is. It's in the record in the minutes now. But it's ultimately up to the board. I mean, you could postpone, you could, you know, review everything and make a decision on the merits.
I think the city is aware too of the continuous caring and continue to build.
Yeah.
And,
Well, and I'm glad you've been in communication with them, because that is an entirely different department than what we're here to be able to help with.
I got you.
I will make a motion that we postpone this. You know, your comments are in record. And certainly if they come to a following meeting, we can remind us of those minutes, so.
Well, he's already encroached on our property line, so, I mean, that's gonna be a civil matter.
Yeah.
I understand that, so I'm gonna take it up civilly, or file a lawsuit on Friday with Nate Evans and Evans Law Firm.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I give you a little context as to how we address situations like this?
Yes.
The Plans Review and Inspections Department doesn't have a whole lot other than a stop work order. If a situation like this, if what the representative said is accurate, and I have no reason to believe he's not, but if we see that somebody continues to work without permits, in this scenario, a denial from BZA would give me the opportunity to pass this over to the Neighborhood Codes Department, who would bring it, and I would request they bring it before the public officer, which that position holds a much larger stick to obtain compliance. And so I can't make that call until something is determined here. Thank
I
you.
would really like it, if you guys would, to just deny it and let him do his job. That would be great for our community and our stuff. And it would be great for the litigation that I have moving forward.
So when someone makes an application and it's been denied, is there a time period before which they can reapply should they attempt the process again? Or is it just that they would have to submit a different request?
I think that, oh, I'm sorry. I believe that there's a 1-year bar on refiling for the same request. Now, a slightly different one obviously will change that. But the board also has the power to deny it without prejudice, meaning that they could come back within the same calendar year.
Very.
I think there's a motion on the table.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, and so that motion was to postpone. So if there's further discussion as we're learning new processes.
And so that's what I wanted to, I wanted to further discuss, but I didn't want to encroach upon your motion.
Yes, fair.
So I don't know, do we have to deal with the motion first?
You can discuss after.
We can
the motion.
discuss and then we can vote and the motion can fail and we can put a new motion up if that's what the board would like to do.
Well, I'm just looking at the description of 47 here, and I don't see a hardship stated.
Not one that's in our list.
We'll handle the motion first.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second regarding postponing it. So in favor postpones it, and then opposed will fail that motion and bring it back for discussion. So all those in favor? All those opposed?
I'm sorry, in favor was, sorry.
In favor would postpone. In
Okay.
opposition would
I'm in
fail it.
favor, I'm sorry, I'm in favor of postponement.
Okay, so 1-4, so it brings it back for discussion. Okay, so there is no motion on the table. Carry on with the discussion.
I'm in favor of postponement simply because I've only heard one side. You probably the side I would agree with, but I've only heard one side, and I'd like to hear both.
So, and then the option of denying without prejudice would allow them to reapply.
Right, that's right.
But the only thing that really does is it evades the year.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it would just need to be stated in that motion without prejudice. Mhm.
Okay.
If you look at the map, if you see where the white car is, right there, he's built to that side. And he's built to he built to this side right here. That is my property line that he's built to. He could have built to the other side. There was no reason why. He has plenty of room on that side. He could have built to that side. He didn't pull a permit, and he's over the line. And he got stopped, worked when the foundation was done. He got told to stop by the city. He did not stop. He went ahead and put the walls up, went ahead and put the roof on, went ahead and did everything that he was not supposed to do. So that's my beef with it. Not only that, he's on my property, and he mowed down some of my property, which I didn't give him. It was an actual retaining buff. There's a creek that runs back through there, and I have T-deck, and I'm getting ready to get stormwater involved. Bob Jones with stormwater, I've called him today, and I'm getting ready to get him and Curtis. I know Curtis really well, and I'm gonna try to get Curtis involved with the creek that runs on the backside of that, because they've mowed all that down, and it's a blue line. You're not supposed to touch it.
Yeah, certainly understand your frustration but trying to divide out what we're able to actually consider.
Yeah, what we're responsible for. My question is, so if we did without prejudice, is there anything that us just postponing would hold him up on from being able to take action anywhere else to deal with this matter?
It holds me up.
It holds you up. It does hold you up. Okay.
It does.
Okay.
The neighborhood codes will not bring it before the public officer if there's an active application
Okay.
within the city.
So it does hold you up. Does the prejudice affect that at all? I mean, if we do without, okay.
Nope.
I am going to make a motion to deny BZA-25-00-47, sorry, because on my reading of the application, there is no hardship stated,
Prejudice, no prejudice.
without prejudice.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? The variance request has been denied.
Okay, so what does that mean now?
It's been denied, so now it's sidebar with Mr. Aaron's after the meeting.
It's in their hands now. Yeah.
All right. That concludes our regular business. Other business, our next meeting will be held on July 15th in the small assembly room, and the meeting is adjourned.